This is just Gengar's Spirit Link, so each one could be slightly different. Nope, 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 no, 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 nope, 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 nope. They're the same card. We've been shown Manectric Spirit Link, and yes, it's the exact same as Gengar Spirit Link. If I can just get the thing up here. High huge set is huge. Here we go. Manectric Spirit Link. Pokemon tool, attach to 20 Pokemon, blah blah blah. Your turn does not end. Your turn does not end if the Pokemon this card is attached to becomes M Manectric X. So it's Gengar Spirit Link as well. Great, 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 great. Joy. Because, you know, I like when we get generic cards that are name specific. Because that makes all the sense ever. Oh wait, no it doesn't. See, in my opinion, I always thought that Megas were taking up a bit too much space in sets already. Because most of our headlining Megas, we had the X, a full art for the X, the Mega, and the alternate art, which is an alternate art in Japan, but not here because we keep renaming things for no reason. But now, on top of those 4 cards, Megas are getting Spirit Link. So, like in this set, we've got Mega Gengar, Mega Manectric. So, X, full art, Mega, alternate art for Mega, Spirit Link. And we're doing that twice. 10 cards for the sake of basically 2 guys. I mean, assume that's a 100 card set, that's 10% of your set. It's just these 2 guys right here. Now, as you can see in the last video, I did actually mention, oh, well, they could do different things with the Spirit Links. Going by this, if we've done 2 right next to each other that are identical, I'm going to assume they're all identical. And that being said, I really, really hate that. You didn't have to turn around and say, your turn doesn't end if the Pokemon this card is attached to becomes Mega Manectric X or Mega Gengar X. You could have just as easily stated, attach this tool to a Pokemon X. If that Pokemon becomes M Pokemon X, your turn does not end. There. I've just made it generic. Now, Spirit Link doesn't have to be printed for every Mega, it doesn't have to have a given name. And it also means that Mega Charizard, Mega Blastoise, Mega Venusaur, Kangaskhan, Heracross, Lucario, all of those guys, they get their Megas and they get Spirit Link. Because if later on we gain Spirit Link cards for them, well, if they're not released alongside them, if we don't get a reprint of those cards but we get their Spirit Link, well, congratulations. That set has a card that is completely useless within that set. Joy. With that though, we don't just have the new Manectric Spirit Link, we've been given the entirety of Phantom Gate. And, well, let's have a quick gander at it. I'm just going to skim through now. I'm not going to go into any severe detail with each of these cards. I'm just going to actually have a quick look, skim through the set, see what stands out immediately, and as time goes by, I'll look at more cards in more depth. And since I've looked at the Spirit Link, I've got the trainers right in front of me, so let's have a quick look at what we've got here. Okay. First things first, I'm going to ask, what's the point of Target Whistle? Choose a basic Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile. Put that Pokemon to your opponent's bench. Okay. possibly you could do some shenanigans with this if your opponent's running something that's incredibly tiny basic and you have some other places damage on the bench. Just go target whistle, bring out your thing with 30 HP and knock it out. But who's playing basics with 38 hit points? I think if a basic has less than 50 hit points, it's not even considered these days. I don't think it has been for the last 2 or 3 seasons. Oh, it could be a thing for it. It could be a damage. You know, you could probably use it in decks that use Dust Noir. The whole sinister hand thing, moving the opponent's damage around. Just say, okay, get the smallest thing out of your discard pile, put it onto your bench, shift load your damage onto it to knock it out. Basically, you make a trainer into a prize card that way, I guess. But that all depends if you can get the damage there, and if you really want to take, if you want to go, here's my trainer, put that there, I'll take a prize, but I've just taken that damage off your board. Sometimes you want to leave that damage floating there a bit, you want to let it build up to critical mass and then just say, take a prize there, take a prize there, take a prize there, good game sir. So, possibly in decks that run Dust Noir it might be a thing, but I think quite a few Dust Noir lists are already pretty tight as it is. So, I don't know, maybe there's something out there that's absolutely amazing and I just don't know of it yet. Might come back to that one later. Next card, the Battle Compressor. Search your deck for 3 cards, discard them. I'll be honest, I think just as a utility, just as something to actually set up future plays, a way of actually discarding cards, a way of actually thinning the deck, this is a pretty amazing trainer card. We've recently been shown the new Bronzong, I'll get into that in a second. Basically, it's electric. And, well, Battle Compressor. Up to 3 cards from your deck into the discard pile. Oh, but these 3 metal energies in the discard pile, Bronzong, start moving that stuff out. It's all good. It's all good. Not only that, we have had cards that have turned around and said, oh, we'll do more damage depending on what's in the discard pile. We've had a Drift Bloom in the past that turned around and said 50 damage for every special energy in your opponent's discard pile. We also have a Flareon that says, here's my base damage, I do more damage for every Pokemon in your discard pile. So Battle Compressor, send 3 Pokemon that you don't really need in deck. That's extra damage for Flareon, extra damage output. It's all good, it's all cool. It's shway. Also the fact that Battle Compressor is a trainer, I think that's pretty good in itself. I think it's because it's actually taking resources out of the deck and putting into the discard pile that makes it into what it is. Next up, Substitute Robot. This card is... it's interesting, I'll give it that. You may play this card as a colourless 30 hit point basic Pokemon as your active Pokemon. You may discard this card at any time during your turn. This card cannot retreat, and even if your opponent knocks out this Pokemon, your opponent does not take a prize. So, this itself is, as I said, it's interesting. It's an extra Pokemon. It stops your opponent from, yeah, if it's knocked out, your opponent doesn't take a prize, which is something pretty special on itself. You can discard it at any time you want. I think that's probably the biggest thing with this. The fact that, oh, what's that? You've put something in the active position that I don't want there, and I don't have switch. It can't retreat for some reason. Substitute Robot. That Pokemon gets knocked onto the bench. Substitute Robot becomes the active Pokemon. You can then discard it. So it's a long way. It's switch, but it's thereabouts. It says that this Pokemon can't retreat. That doesn't mean it can't exist on your bench. The reason it can't retreat is because they've not stated it has a retreat cost. Basically, it's not got a free retreat cost, it's got an infinite retreat cost. because there's nothing to say retreat cost equals 0 or it's 1. It means that basically retreat cost is effectively infinite. You can't make it 0. You can't pay the cost ever. That being said, it can exist on your bench. You substitute robot and then you use a card like Switch, Escape Rope, anything like that. You can switch this Pokemon. Switching is not retreating. So it can exist on your bench. And we've seen it in the past where there have been cards that turn around and say, oh, get a bonus for knocking out one of your own Pokemon. It's actually happened back in the Down the Pill era with Regigigas level X. It actually turned around and said, knock a Pokemon out, heal damage off of Regigigas, attach energy. It was pretty good for what it did. So if we ever get that kind of mechanic back again, you can go substitute robot, knock it out, get your bonus effect, your opponent doesn't take that prize. So that's all the food for thought if that mechanic comes back. The fact that it can turn around and say, oh well, substitute robot, put it in the active position. Now it's a case of, here's my 30 hit point basic. You can easily knock it out, but you don't take a prize. The guy you want to be hitting, he's over here, he's on my bench. He's sitting there, he's chilling out. You can use it to actually stop your opponent taking a key prize. You can try and actually, as I said, use it as a way of retreating. You could just go, here's substitute robot, this guy goes to the bench. Discard it, bring out something else. It's another switch, but it's a switch with utility. And I'll be honest, I won't be surprised if I do see people playing this in place of outside switch, just because it is effectively switch with utility. Oh, then we'll get on to two of the interesting cards. Our first, Team Flare Hyper Gears. Jamming Net. Pokemon Tool Flare. Attach Pokemon Tool after one of your opponent's Pokemon X that doesn't already have a Pokemon Tool attached to it. If that Pokemon is knocked out, discard this card. The Pokemon this card is attached to does 20 less damage to the defending Pokemon. If this card becomes detached, this card is discarded to the original player's discard pile. Now, I'm pretty sure there's actually cards. I don't know if it's in this set or if it's a Pokemon attack. I know for a fact there's a card that effectively turns around. Wait. Pretty sure. Oh, wait. Last set we actually got a Tool Retriever. Basically, it allowed you to take Pokemon Tool cards off that are on the field and return them to your hand. Somebody asked a question about cards like the Team Flare Hyper Gear. If your opponent attaches it to your Pokemon and you use the retrieval, can you pick up their tools and then put them on their Pokemon? Well, luckily the text has been updated. It is now a case of if this card becomes detached, it's discarded. So if you do use retrieval, say target Jamming Net, you're actually just discarding the Jamming Net. You're not picking it up so you can use it on your opponent's Pokemon. The fact that Jamming Net itself is basically a case of, it's a hard charm for all of your Pokemon. So attach it to this one guy. Now, as far as he's concerned, all of my Pokemon have hard charm. All of my Pokemon are Donphan Prime. And I think that's pretty good. Once again, don't know how viable it's going to be, but it is nice to actually see tools actually attached to your opponent's Pokemon. The fact that it actually turns around and says, well, here, have this thing, now you can't do the stuff, that's pretty good fun. In fact, the next card, it's another Team Flare Hyper Gear. Effectively, same conditional text. It's attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon X. If it becomes detached, discard it. Head Noiser. The Pokemon this card is attached to has the cost of its attacks increased by 1 colorless energy. So that's basically a case of cards like Genesect. You want to go for the Megalo Cannon? Not Megalo Cannon. Is it Megalo Cannon? Yeah, you want to go for Megalo Cannon? Well, that's now 2 grass, double colours. Virizion is grass, double colours to attack. Let's see what else is there. Keldeo now requires 4 energy to attack, not a problem. Black Aram's been rotated. What else is there? Oh, cards like Mewtwo, Seismitoad, they now require 3 colours to attack. So, really it's a case of, firstly, you're hindering your opponent slightly. You know, if they're really struggling for energy, they're not going, you do this, they're going to struggle even more. It's also a case of, oh well, these guys attack for double colours now, they're attacking for triple colours. Do you want to invest more onto that guy? Do you want to put a 3rd energy onto Seismitoad or Mewtwo when you could be using that attachment to set up something to replace Seismitoad or Mewtwo? Do you want Pyro to actually have an attack cost of fire triple colourless? Is it as good when it has a 4 energy attack cost? Its ability is still good, but is the attack really worth it now? So, head nods I can see being interesting. Or just an interesting way to troll your opponent, but we'll see how it all goes. Then we get onto supporters. Got AZ. Basically, it's the old school scoop up. Well, kind of. Choose one of your Pokemon, return that Pokemon and its attached pre-evolutions to your hand. You discard all of the cards attached, so all the energy, any tools, gone. In my opinion, it's nowhere near as good as a card like Super Scoop Up. Super Scoop Up might have that coin toss, but it picks up everything. Plus, I'm not using my supporter to use Super Scoop Up, so yeah, I'm still getting stuff off. I'm still actually able to make things happen. So let's move on. Xerosic. Choose a special energy or Pokemon tool from either your or your. Choose one special energy or Pokemon tool from either your Pokemon or your opponent's Pokemon and discard it. I'll be honest, I think the only reason that Xerosic is here as a supporter is just the fact that it's serving the purpose of 2 different tools, 2 different trainer cards. It's turning around and saying, oh well, here's Enhanced Hammer. Oh, here's half a Tool Scrapper. Let's, basically take these 2 let's take these 2 cards, make them into 1, but you still have to choose one of them. As a support, I think it's quite lackluster actually. I'm not a huge fan of it. If it was special energy and tool, and you could actually choose up to, then yeah, that'd be fine. But special energy or tool, it's only 1 tool. Well, we've got Noisy Megaphone. I'm pretty sure that one of the hammers are still around. If not, it doesn't really matter. It's a case of, well, are people running Hammer Time anymore? Not really. Hammer Time isn't a thing like Sableye. Sableye's been rotated. So, yeah, not as good as it would have been before rotation. And even then, it would have been subpar. So, let's get on to our last supporter. Lysandres, or Lysanders. It's either Lysander or Lysandre. I believe it's Lysandre because it's D-R-E at the end. Dre. Lysandre's Last Resort. Both players shuffle all cards from their discard pile into their deck, excluding any Lysandre's Last Resort. I'll be honest, I really like that. I want to see people do stuff with this. I've already heard of people actually wanting to use this alongside Plasma Lugia to actually turn around and say, oh well, those plasma energies, they get discarded and you want those resources back, you want them fast. You want the plasma energy back on the deck, you want the Chorus Machine back on the deck. You want to keep on actually... You've got a lot of trainers, you've got energy, pretty much a lot of your deck you want recycling. You also run bicycle, roller skates, so you're drawing a lot of cards with every time to use your supporter, so the fact that Lugia can keep swinging, you can just keep going, here's 120, here's 120, oh, here's all this good stuff, have fun with that. Yes, let's keep going, count, shall we? Also, I believe that Lysandra's Last Resort, as a mid to late game card, is pretty good. Your opponent, say you're into the late game, your opponent's got 4 prizes, you got 2, your opponent goes to use N. Now, if your opponent's gone through a third of their deck, then it doesn't matter that they've only taken 2 prizes, it doesn't matter that they're only drawing 4 cards. The percentage yield from their deck is the same now as it was at the beginning of the game. So 4 card N is effectively just as good as a 6 card N, because you've got the same percentage chance of hitting the same cards, depending on whether you've seen certain cards or whether you've been whiffing. Let's just say if you use an even third of the deck, just to make it easier to explain. Now, say the turn before your opponent goes to go N, you go Lysandra's Last Resort. They now have their entire deck back. They've not been through a third of it. All of a sudden, the percentage yield on it isn't as good as it used to be. They're still drawing the same number of cards, but they're drawing it from a thicker deck, a deck that's got more cards in it. Plus, if you're already winning, then you should have established a decent board anyway. N to 2 is going to effectively do the exact same thing to you in even position, unless you've gone through 2/3 of your deck. And if you have, then, well, you've most likely seen a lot of your good resources already, but now you've got your Junipers back, there's Chorus if you run it, there's Getis if you run that. There's also cards like Shauna. Basically, any kind of draw support or any kind of power, any kind of card that gave you advantage in the other game, it's now back in your deck, so you can play 8 Junipers in one game. There you go. How much more draw power do you need? 8 Junipers, 8 Sycamore. They actually turned around and said you can't have Juniper and Sycamore together in the same deck because that's 8 cards that do the same thing. And that's draw power of what, 48 cards? No, not 48. 46. No, 56 cards. That's the draw power for 56 cards. You can now go Lysandra's Last Resort, put 4 Junipers back in. I could now draw 56 cards throughout the game, excluding N. We're talking straight draw from the deck. How's that bad? How's it bad that you can draw that many cards? It's not bad, is it? And right, and now we actually have 2 stadiums to cover. First is Dimensional Valley. Each player's psychic Pokemon pays 1 less colorless to attack. And that in itself is kind of silly, especially when we start looking at Gengar in a bit. In fact, I'll scroll down to him in a second. But before we get onto Gengar, let's have a quick look at the other stadium. Here we go. Steel Shelter. Remove all special conditions from Metal Pokemon in play. Metal Pokemon cannot be affected by special conditions. So it's Virizion X, the Steel Pokemon, but it's not conditional. Unless you want to turn around and say having the stadium in play is conditional. Okay, I can be very happy with that. But let's head back to Dimension Valley for a second. Now, we've already got Dimension Valley, turns around, Psychic Pokemon, well, let's call this. Okay, it's not actually for Psychic Pokemon, it's more for Ghost Pokemon with this set, but there did not is Psychic in the card game. Well, straight up to bat, let's go with the big bad himself, Gengar. Gengar X has the type Night Attack. 1 colorless. place 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So, Field Spell. Game RX. 30 damage for free. Anywhere. Being able to attack for 30 for free was pretty damn amazing when it was on Tyrogue. A basic with 30 hit points that put itself to sleep at the end of the turn. So the fact that you can turn around and say, here's a guy with 170 hit points. Requires a bit more setup than Tyrogue, but can you really call a field spell setup? And this damage is going anywhere, it's not just punch, sleep, next turn. No, it's a case of that guy. Sure, it's not Landorus, it's not turning around and saying 30-30, it's not saying, oh, potential 90-30 for 1 energy, but this is turning around and saying 30 anywhere. For free. Also has the attack for a Psychic Double Course and Dark Corridor. 60 damage, your opponent's active is now poisoned. Switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. So it's hit and run. So it's... here's 60 damage, enjoy some poison, here's Trevenant. In fact, let me quickly look up Trevenant because there's actually something I've just realised. I was going to state that Trevenant could also use Mystery Energy, which reduces the cost of a Psychic Pokemon's retreat by 2 colours, but it's got a retreat cost of 3. So Floatstone it is. But still, the whole fact that with Dimensional Valley, Dark Corridor is 2 energy. It's Psychic colours. You could still go, here's Psychic Energy, here's DCE, but now you're not depending on the double colourless energy. I mentioned that Mystery Energy gives reduces your Psychic Pokemon's retreat cost by 2. What's Gengar's retreat cost? Oh look, it's 2. So you could just hop between 2 of them if you really wanted. Let's have a gander at Mega Gengar. Retreat cost 1, he actually does get faster. It also uses Phantom Gate. Choose one of your opponent's Pokemon's attacks. Use it. That's for a Psychic Double Colourless. Or Psychic Colourless, if you're actually using Dimensional Valley. And to be honest, I think that in itself is amazing. Just like that one field spell, the Gengar line. The fact that Gengar gets a Spirit Link, which means that when it Mega Evolves, you don't end your turn. It's all good. Well, let's have a quick skim through the rest of the set. This is where the episode's going to speed up. I'm probably just going to skim over these. I've gone through I've spent probably a lot longer than I wanted to on the cards already. That's what we're up to. Okay, we're up to half an hour already, so yeah, I'm going to be skimming through this. Oh, here we go. First card of note, Hydreigon. Has the ability Dark Advocacy. Once during your turn, choose a Dark Energy from your discard pile, attach it to your active Pokemon. So, a bit like Electric, but it's still active, it's dark, even though it's actually on a Dragon Pokemon. Stage 2, so a bit iffy on that. The attack 130 damage, discard an energy for Psychic, Dark, and Double Colourless, so not the best attack. We've got a new Slurp buff. Obviously, 90 hit points, stage 1. Ability, Tasting. You may draw 1 card from your deck. If this Pokemon is active, you may draw 1 more card. You can only use this ability once per turn. Now, I'm gonna wait for the official text on this. Now, you may use this ability once per turn. That should actually mean that it's just this one tasting. So if you have 4 Slurp Up, you can draw 4 cards. If one of them's active, you draw 5 cards. I know it says you can only use this ability once per turn. It depends how this is translated. Only using this ability once per turn basically means it's once per turn per Slurp Up. It's basically a case of you don't just go Slurp Up, draw a card, draw a card, draw a card, draw a card, draw a card. That's why it states you can't do it. You can only do it once per turn. Because if it didn't state that, you could just keep reusing it until you've basically drawn your entire deck. If this actually is translated differently, as you may only use 1 tasting per turn, then probably not going to be as good, but still it's extra draw. It could be a thing. It could be, people could start running this as a bench setter just to draw. I mean, people used to run obviously X. Sure, it had a decent attack, but it was level X, it required setup, but it had trade-off. Look at the top 2, add 1 to your hand, the other one goes to the bottom of your deck. It's effectively draw a card, but with more options. Let's see, the attack for a fairy, double colourless, 60 damage, during your opponent's next turn, prevent all effects of attacks done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon. The attack's not the best thing ever, so making a Slurp-Up-centric deck probably not the best idea, but it may warrant being an engine. The Malamar X can put things to sleep when you attach an energy to it, and for a Dark and Colourless does 60 damage. You have to flip a coin for each energy attached to this Pokemon. You do 60 damage for each of those heads. Potential damage nuker, but coin tosses as your attack, not going to really work that well. Ooh, actually that's quite interesting. I'm surprised I heard more about this. Gigalith has the ability High Density Armor. If this Pokemon has no damage, any damage done to this Pokemon by attacks is reduced by 50. So, yeah, your opponent has to actually be outputting a decent amount of damage to actually hit you. If your opponent's turning around and say, here's 40 damage, it's like, well, 40 minus 50, you're not doing damage. So I still keep my minus 50. That could be interesting. The attack is heavy as sin, though. 3 fighting and a colourless. There's 60 damage. During your next turn, that attack does 40 more damage. So 60, 100, 100, 100, 100. 4 energy for 100 damage next turn? I don't think the Pokemon Company is playing the same game as we are. But that could be an interesting ability. I won't be surprised if something happens. Oh, okay. We've also got Gorgeist. Has the ability Big Pumpkin. Whenever this Pokemon has a grass energy attached to it, this Pokemon's hit points become 200. That's not when you attach energy, it's as long as the energy is attached. Stage 1, 200 hit points. Only goes at 1 price. Okay. For Psychic Double Colourless, has the attack Horror Note. Does 10 damage for each card in your hand. So, potentially, you could get some damage out with this guy. It's 200 hit points if it's got grass energy attached to it. Do we have the blends? I think we might have lost the blend energy, so forget that idea. So yeah, you'd have to manually attach grass energy to it, or we should have Rainbow. I think we have to have Rainbow. I'm still not used to any band list. I need to get back into practice. But yeah, the whole fact that Big Pumpkin does turn around and say, here's all his hit points, you can do a decent amount of damage as long as you keep your hand to a modular size. Then again, you're probably going to be doing about 40-50 a turn. I don't know. I really don't know how well this is going to work out. Oh! Oh, hello! I know there's a reason I always like Chandelier. Oh, Chandelier is just being the boy right now. Okay, anyone familiar with Fainting Spell? because it's coming back. Fainting spell. Once during opponent's turn, if this Pokemon will be knocked out by damage from an attack, you may flip a coin. If heads, the opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out. You both go down together on a coin toss. The Psychic Double Colorless Curse drops, puts 6 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. Not as big as Stormfront Gengar, I'm gonna be honest. Stormfront Gengar had a much better attacking set, but fainting spells back. I'll be honest, my feels, you have them right now. This is nostalgia in its finest, and I love it. I like the fact that fainting spells back. If somebody can make this work, then let me know, because fainting spell has ruined many lives, and it's made people hate sudden death. I've seen multiple game sudden deaths where sudden death, setup, attack, knock out the Gengar, fainting spell. Oh well, sudden death again. Because this was before ties. It's pretty lousy. Oh, we've mentioned it's Spritlink, but I didn't even mention Manectric himself. Manectric X. Pro Colorless Energy. 20 damage. Choose a bench Pokemon, do 20, so it's like a small Landorus. 20-20, so 30-30. It's not bad actually, it's a setup attack. For a Lightning Colorless, you can use Assault Laser. 60 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon has any Pokemon tools attached to it, do an extra 60 damage. So, 2 energy, 120. I'll be honest, that is a really good energy to damage ratio. It's conditional, but for 60 damage per energy attached to you, it's worth the conditional. It really is. Mega Manectric, once again, Lightning Colorless. Turbo Bolt, 110 damage. Choose 2 basic energy from your discard pile and attach them to one of your bench Pokemon. Now, normally you see something like this on electric Pokemon. It's like, here's big here's low cost, here's big damage, discard all your energy. Manectric X? No, here's low cost, here's big damage. Have more energy! Do more of the thing! You could very easily go, here's Mega Manectric, Turbo Bolt, I'll set up this other Manectric. It's that easy. It's kind of silly how good that is. And to be honest, I think that's actually it for now. I'd say, sorry this video has actually gone on so long. Sorry if it's not been too focused at certain points. I've just like thrown myself in here. That's everything that's jumped out at me straight away. I will be having a much closer look at the set. I will be trying to find out, what people are talking about, what people are thinking, and I will start to actually, I will look at individual cards in more detail. But until next time, I've been Writer Joey. You guys are the top percent. Peace out.